You've probably heard of it. It's one of the oldest, most heartbreaking scams out there. That frantic call you get from a grandchild who's in serious trouble. But what happens when that old scheme gets a brand new, high-tech, and frankly terrifying upgrade? Okay, let's dive into how artificial intelligence has absolutely supercharged the grandparent scam, making it more believable and way more dangerous than ever before.
So you're probably thinking, I'd never fall for that. Well, that's exactly what a former law enforcement and intelligence officer thought too. I mean, just read this quote. This person spent over 60 years in the field and they still got taken. It's a pretty chilling reminder of just how sophisticated these scams have become. If an expert can be fooled, believe me, anyone can.
All right, so to really get a handle on where we are now, we first have to look at where this all started. Let's break down the classic version of the scam, the one that's been preying on family trust for years.
You know, at its heart, the grandparent scam is brutally simple. It's not about fancy tech, it's a psychological play. It targets one of our deepest instincts, that incredible urge to protect the people we love. Scammers just create a crisis out of thin air to tap into that love and trust, all for a quick payday. So the classic playbook is all about emotional manipulation. Here's how it usually goes down. You get a call, often late at night. The voice on the other end sounds frantic, maybe they're crying. They say they've been arrested or they're in a car crash. They need money and they need it right now. But here's the most important part. They always say, please don't tell mom and dad. That secrecy, that is their #1 weapon to keep you from checking if the story is actually true. For years, the real weak point for scammers was the voice, right? They'd have to make excuses like, oh, I have a really bad cold, or the connection is terrible, to explain why they didn't sound right. Well, that has all changed. Let's look at how this scam evolved into something way more sinister.
And this, right here, is the game changer. That one little detail that was always a bit suspicious, the voice, isn't a weakness for the criminals anymore. No, in fact, it has become their single most powerful weapon. It takes that psychological trick we just talked about and just cranks it up to 1,000. Because at the end of the day, hearing is believing.
So, welcome to the wild world of AI voice cloning. All a scammer needs is just a few seconds of audio of your loved one's voice, maybe from a TikTok they posted, an Instagram story, even a voicemail they left you. They just feed that little clip into an AI program and boom, it can generate a perfect, synthetic copy of that person's voice capable of saying anything the scammer types. It's that easy.
The raw human impact of this technology is exactly what makes it so terrifying. I mean, listen to this. This is what one woman, Sharon Brightwell, said after hearing what she was sure was her daughter's voice, crying hysterically about being in a horrible accident. The emotion sounded so real that all her rational defenses just completely crumbled.
And that nightmare? It had a price tag. Believing she was saving her daughter, Sharon Brightwell sent $15,000 to the scammers. The emotional damage is just devastating, but the financial loss, that's just as real.
So you might be asking yourself, wait, how is this even possible? How is it legal? Well, a recent Consumer Reports investigation looked into 6 major voice cloning platforms. What they found was pretty shocking. 4 of them, 4 out of 6, had basically no meaningful way to check if the person whose voice was being cloned had actually given permission. You just check a box and that's it. They're leaving the front door wide open for this stuff to be misused.
Okay, so the scammers have perfected the hook with these AI clone voices. It's incredibly convincing. But how do they actually get the money? You know, banks have gotten a lot better at flagging suspicious wire transfers, so criminals have had to evolve their methods here too. And they've gone surprisingly low-tech.
Just look at this comparison. The old methods on the left, things like wire transfers and gift cards, they leave a digital trail. But the new methods on the right, they're physical, and they're designed to be almost impossible to trace. We're talking about scammers telling victims to go to the bank, withdraw huge amounts of cash, or even buy solid gold bars and then just hand them over to a courier who shows up right at their front door. It's all about turning digital money into untraceable physical assets. So, does this new method work? Oh, you bet it does. This number, over $26 million, represents the losses from these courier-based scams reported just to the FBI's Boston office in about a 2-year period. $26 million. From just one region.
And now, let's zoom out. Across the whole country, during that same time frame, the losses from these courier scams topped $186 million. This is not just a few isolated incidents. This is a massive, nationwide criminal operation.
So it's really crucial to understand who's behind all this. We are not talking about some lone wolf in a basement. These are highly organized, transnational criminal organizations. For instance, a major fraud ring based out of Montreal was running call centers specifically to target elderly Americans. From there, they coordinated this huge network of couriers all across the US to go pick up the cash. Sometimes, they even recruited people through fake job ads, turning unsuspecting folks into money mules.
Look, I know this all sounds incredibly scary, and honestly, it is. But, and this is a big but, you are not powerless. Knowing how the scam works is the first big step. The next step is knowing exactly what to do when or if that call comes.
All right, let's get right to it. This is probably the most important part of this whole explainer. What can you actually do to protect yourself, to protect your family? It really just comes down to a few simple, but absolutely critical steps.
This is it. This is the single most effective defense you have. I don't care how real it sounds, I don't care how panicked you feel, the very first thing you have to do is hang up the phone. Just hang up. Then, take a deep breath and call your loved one back on a number that you already have for them, not a number the caller gave you. This one simple action, pause and verify, it completely short-circuits their entire scam.
And here are the big flashing red flags to watch for. They'll demand secrecy, don't tell anyone. They'll pressure you to act immediately, there's no time. And they will ask for bizarre payment methods like cash, gift cards, or even gold. And just remember this if you remember nothing else. No legitimate U.S. government agency, not the FBI, not the IRS, nobody, will ever ask you to secure your assets by buying gold bars, period.
And finally, report it. Even if you figure it out and you don't lose any money, reporting the attempt helps law enforcement track these criminal groups and protect other people from becoming victims. Just go to ic3.gov. It's a really crucial step in fighting back against these guys.
So we're going to end on this. The technology that makes these scams possible is only getting better, and it's only getting easier to use, and it forces us all to ask a really fundamental question. When our own eyes and our own ears can be so easily fooled by a perfect digital copy, how are we going to be able to prove who and what is actually real? It's a huge challenge we're all going to be facing, and definitely something to think about.